Hello and welcome back to Breaking Down Breaking Bad. Alright, so Granite State, the penultimate episode of Breaking Bad's history, Granite State. Wow, I thought it was a fantastic episode yet again. It was definitely a step down from Ozymandias, but it was always going to be. I really feel like Ozymandias is the episode that it kind of is the climax of the show. It really is what it's all been building to, and really we're just now tying up the loose ends. And I really don't think that the finale is gonna top Ozymandias. I hope it does, because that would be mind-blowingly amazing. But really, we've got to kind of slow down a bit, and I've seen some complaints about it not being that great. I thought it was brilliant. I mean, you really needed to have a breather at this point in this season, which has been so non-stop. It's been such an onslaught on all our senses, and emotions, that we really needed Granite State. And the episode opens, we see that Saul Goodman. I've just got a summary here so I don't forget any important points. We see that Saul Goodman is he's getting a new identity. He steps out of the red minivan, and he learns that his bunkmate, I guess you could say, is Walt. And we see who the the vacuum the cleaner guy is, Ed, played by Robert Forster. Oh my God, amazing, absolutely amazing casting. I could not believe it. Not 20 minutes before this episode aired, I was talking to my good friend Ryan Chataway about Jackie Brown, actually. That was in no way related to Breaking Bad. We were talking about it, and I was just saying how great Robert Forster was in that movie, and just how much I loved his character and how much I loved the actor. And there he was 20 minutes later on Breaking Bad, of all shows. I absolutely loved it. He was brilliant, as always. I love Robert Forster, and he was the perfect choice for me to play that character. And I didn't think we'd even see that character, but I was really glad that we did, and I was really glad that he played him. It was brilliant, sublime casting. Now Walt really, he's trying to convince Saul to put out a hit on, Jack and his men, but Saul's, it's out of his hands now. He's getting a new identity as well. He's just as wrapped up in everything as Walt is, and so he has to go and, get, I would assume, a second new identity, because Saul Goodman isn't his real name. So, he's off to start a new life in Nebraska, and of course Walt tries to convince Saul to stay, or to go with him to New Hampshire. And it's almost a mirror of the beginning of season 5, where he kind of says to Saul, "We're not done. It's not over." And as he's about to say that, he kind of collapses in a coughing fit, and his intimidation tactic doesn't work. It's, he's just kind of shrinking into this frail old man who's dying of cancer and doesn't have much time left. And Saul leaves, and that is, for me, I would imagine, the last time we'll ever see Saul. And so, and on a side note, I do think obviously the Better Call Saul show is going to be a prequel, because he's taking on a new identity now. He's just as implied in things as Walt is at this point. Also, Saul was trying to convince Walt to stay. He's saying, stay, face the music. You're dying anyway. And there's no way to get the money to your family. It's just too hot. There's no way that they can get money through any means, and so Walt's stuck there with 11 million in a barrel, and no way to get it to his family, stuck between a rock and a hard place. And he also kind of wants back the rest of his fortune. He's still really raw about the fact that Jack took all his money. And so we see that Walt, he goes off to New Hampshire with Robert Forster, and he's got this cabin in the woods. Up in New Hampshire, away from civilization, about 7 miles, I think he said. And Walt is, he's not very happy with the situation. I mean, he's like, well, no phone, no internet, and Robert Foster's like, well, there's no, you can't risk it. And it's snowing as well, or there's a lot of snow and stuff. It's cold, so he's stuck in this cabin with like a heater. Food for a month, and Robert Forster's going to come back every month with supplies and stuff like that, bringing papers and news and all that kind of thing. But really, Walt's there on his own, and he's got nothing really there but just heat and some electricity and food, and all this money as well. And so it's a really sad state of affairs, and we just see Walt slowly really shrink into this isolation and this desperation of just a man who is completely broken and has nothing left but just a small, you know, sliver of the fortune that he spent the past year and a half working on amassing. And yeah, it's quite sad to see, and many people online are kind of being very divisive, I think, right now, because really, you know, Breaking Bad, as popular as it has been, really everyone loves Walt and loves Heisenberg, thinks he's a badass. But around, you know, season 5 and just kind of, I think maybe the turning point is when Walt had a chance to walk away with like 5 million, I think it was, from that methylamine, and he decided to keep going. And when he got caught, and just, I don't know, maybe not, I don't know when the turning point was, but there was a point recently, you know, certainly in the last year or so, when it really became a case of people and fans being very specific about who they're rooting for in this show. Team Walt, Team Jesse. There are people who hate Walt as a character, people who love Walt as a character, people who don't understand the other side. They don't understand how people can love Walt, they don't understand how people can hate Walt. For me personally, I both love and hate him. It's not as simple as that. You know, I think I might have talked about this before. It's not that black and white. It is, you know, it's a matter of shades of grey, really. It's a matter of grey, and so really, you know, I root for Walt as much as I kind of wish that he hadn't made some of the decisions that he made. But then, if he hadn't, we wouldn't be in such a tense kind of dramatic situation where we're enjoying this amazing television. To me, that's what's so great about it, and I want to see Walt achieve some redemption at the end of this. As evil as he has become, as much as he's let his ego take over his whole life, really, I want to see Walt get some redemption out of this situation. And it is sad to see Walt kind of shrivel up, and he's losing weight. You know, his ring falls off his hand because, you know, his hand is getting thinner. And there's a great moment where when he's first put in the cabin, where he kind of he takes, like, I don't know, maybe like $100 grand and puts it in his pockets in his coat, and he gets out the old Heisenberg hat and he pops it up, you know, and he puts it on, you know, runs his fingers around the rim, and then he's off and he's out and he's he's going into town, and he's gonna, you know, fuck it all up for himself and get caught. But you know, he's in Heisenberg mode now, and he gets to the gate and he just looks down to the driveway and he just stops and he coughs a little, and he just says to himself, tomorrow, tomorrow. And we know he's not going to do it tomorrow, and that, you know, he's lost everything at this point, and he's lost his motivation, and all he wants is for his family to get the money, but there's no way for that to happen. And then we see Robert Forster, Ed, turn up again. Walt's got a full beard now, his hair's grown back. We've got to assume that it's 2-3 months into the future at this point, maybe 4 months, because we know by the end of the episode that this is just before his 52nd birthday, and we know that round about Ozymandias time is around 18 months after the pilot, so it's almost 2 years now. So I would say that he was out in the cabin for maybe 3-4 months, and there was something that was alluded to that in their dialogue. I forgot what it was, but it definitely hinted that it hadn't been just a month, as some people thought, like, oh, that's weird that he grew that much hair back in a month, but it's definitely been longer than a month. And there's this really sad bit because, well, first of all, you know, Ed, he actually has gotten some kind of homemade chemotherapy, or, you know, some kind of back alley chemotherapy stuff, that a bag that he's hooked up for Walt, and he puts the needle in for Walt to continue his cancer treatment. And he's about to leave, and Walt just says, you know, will you stay with me a little? And Ed's like, well, that's a long drive, you know. And Walt says, it's 2 hours. And, you know, it's this awkward situation. Then Walt says, I'll give you another $10,000 if you just stay with me. And it's just heartbreaking, and it's horrible. And, you know, people can kind of say, you know, you can't feel sorry for Walt, but I do feel sorry for Walt because, you know, he's just been put in a really horrible situation. But of course, that's the thing, you know, he's killed people, he's been responsible for the death of people, he's been responsible for some heinous things, both directly and indirectly. So just to see him have a hard time, you know, really shouldn't be heartbreaking, but it still is, because he is the central character of the show, and to me everything about the show is so intrinsically Walter White that you can't help but, for me, kind of want him to kind of turn it back around somehow. That's what this whole show has been about. This whole show has been about Walt and you know, Jesse in certain situations being put in these ridiculous situations where you think, how the hell are they going to get out of this? And they get out of it. And that's the whole kind of, for me, the whole kind of drive of the show. How are they going to get out of this one, you know? And yes, maybe it was a lot more fun back in the day of season 2. You know, how are they going to get the RV to start back up again, you know? But now it's really a case of, you know, how is he going to just kind of redeem himself just a little bit in this situation? How is he going to bring it all full circle, you know? Or will he not? Will he just end it in a blaze of evil glory? Who knows? I mean, really, it could go any way at this point. The show has proven that it'll go to any depths. And this episode was no different. We had another harsh moment in this episode, going back to Jesse's story. He's, you know, he's in this cell, you know, underground, and we actually see that Marie gets driven home, but her house, you know, Hank's home as well, has been just ransacked, and the copies of Jesse's confession tape have been taken, and we see that Jack and his men are watching that tape and laughing, and, you know, loving the fact that Jesse's crying like a little baby. And then we hear Jesse's side of the story when Todd, you know, shoots Drew Sharp, and that's when they decide, you know, right, he's implicated Todd, so we're gonna go kill him now. And Todd's like, hey, you know, just hold on, let's keep Jesse around for a couple more cooks, you know. So Todd's really protecting Jesse for some reason, and we learn obviously that the creepy stuff a couple of episodes ago. Todd has a thing for Lydia, and he has a meeting with Lydia, and he kind of you know, convinces her to stay affiliated with him and his meth operation by dropping the fact that they've got the meth purity back up to 92% with the help of Jesse, and how you know, it's blue again. That's made her an offer she couldn't refuse, and so that's that. And we see him kind of lower some ice cream down to Jesse and said, I think you deserve this for the 96% you know, purity or whatever. So Jesse has this ice cream, and he asks Todd if he can leave the cover off the cell so he can see the stars at night, and Todd's like, yeah, okay. He locks the gate, and that's when we see Jesse takes out a paper clip from a picture he has of Andrea and Brock, and he kind of unhooks his handcuffs, puts his blankets together, puts a bucket down, and manages to jump up and grab onto the top of the cell. And it's all in one shot, and I really have to take my hat off to Aaron Paul, because it looked like it was really unsteady to get onto that bucket, and to actually jump up and kind of grab an extra 2 feet or so and grab onto that bar with one hand, you know, was really impressive. Quite a cool little stunt there, I think, that some people might overlook. And just this really tense scene where he kind of escapes from the cell, and he's running away, but he gets caught, and that's when he's just at his lowest ebb, and he's like, just kill me, just get it over with. And the next shot, we see Todd has knocked on the door of Andrea, and he says Jesse's out in that van out there, and she walks over to her porch to see Jesse, and she can't see him. And that's when Todd says it's not personal, and he takes a gun and he blows her brains out. And we see Jesse in the van just absolutely screaming with a rag in his mouth so that, you know, no one can hear it, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, forget Walt, you know, this was really heartbreaking. And just you know, I actually knew this girl who looked very similar to Andrea, and she had a, you know, young kid as well. So for me, it was extra horrific to see that. It was just, it really got under my skin and was absolutely horrible. You know, Lily, my cat, is still trying to get over it. She's just so depressed that she's just sleeping all day, you know, and I don't blame her. I really don't blame her. I mean, she used to love Breaking Bad. I mean, honestly, she'd be meowing like crazy, loving all that, you know. I am the danger, I am the one who knocks. She was like, yeah, she's loving it, but, you know, now she's just sleeping, and I'm honestly worried about her, really. You know, you okay? Yeah? You'll get over it. It's okay, it's just a TV show. I'm not sure if she understands that it's actually fiction. But anyway, that was a really that was a really pointless detour, but, you know, these videos go long anyway, so what the hell. Yeah, I just need to take a break, you know, because just thinking about that moment, you know, it's horrible, really horrible, and Jesse has just been absolutely stripped of everything at this point. Same as Walt, really, but I guess you could take it even further with Walt if you took away his family, because he knows that his family is safe. He got newspapers when Ed came back, and he knew that they were safe, and that they were being questioned, you know, that Skyler was going to the police, and we saw that as well. And also we saw that Skylar was at home, and she goes into the baby's bedroom, and there are Todd and his gang. Very, tense scene as well. Is he going to kill Skylar? Is he going to kill Holly? And when he's sure that she hasn't told them anything, or told her that she's seen Lydia, Todd decides that he's going to let her live, and he leaves, and she's safe. But we've seen this weird thing where Todd is kind of making these decisions on whether or not he should kill people, and it's just such a creepy character, who's just obviously a complete sociopath. But I don't know, Todd is really just horrific, especially in this episode. Crazy. Now Walt has decided, he's got these boxes of the stuff that he's got. I'm not sure if it's food or drink or something like that. And he gets an idea. He gets one of his Walt brainwaves, and he takes loads of money and he puts them into this box, wraps up in a package, and he goes out to town. And he phones Walt Jr. and he gets hold of Walt Jr. And he's crying, saying it's so good to hear your voice. And Walt Jr. is not really saying much. He's very kind of apprehensive about being on the phone with his dad, especially now that this manhunt has gone out. He is now public enemy #1. Everyone is after Walter White, and it's really a dumb move on Walt's part to actually go and phone up Walt Jr. But he's obviously at his lowest ebb, nothing to lose. He really just wants to get some of this money to his family. Otherwise it really will have been all for absolutely nothing. So he goes there. Also worth noting, just before Ed left, Walt says to Ed, he says, one of these months when you come back here, I'm going to be dead. When that happens, will you take my money and give it to my family? Can you promise me that? And Ed says, if I said yes, would you believe me? It's as simple as that, really. And so there's no hope for Walt getting that money back to his family. And so this is his last hope, his last idea, to put it in this box and send this package. And he says to Walt Jr. he's going to send it to his friend Lewis, and that he has to go and pick it up and not tell anyone about it and stuff. And it's about $100,000. He wishes he could give him more. And then Walt Jr. just kind of flies off the handle and says, you killed Uncle Hank, and I'm not. Why can't you just die? And just to hear that from your own son, and that's it, and it's over. There's no hope whatsoever for Walt now. It is all fucked. It's done. So he picks up the phone again, and he calls the DEA, and he says, I'm calling about Walter White. And they said, who's this? And he says, Walter White. Just drops his phone, sits down at the bar, orders a drink. He's accepting his fate. The police are going to show up, obviously, and he'll be taken away, and that's that. It's the end. TV is on in the bar. Barman's flicking through the channels, and we hear this little thing there, and then suddenly in my mind I was thinking, no, because I've been saying all week I would love to see Grey Matter come back into this. Grey Matter, the company that Walt founded, years ago, but was kicked out of, and as we learned in season 5A, he sold his share in that company for I think about $5,000. And it's now worth $2.2 billion or something, and he checks it every week. We know that it's still very much in his mind. He always checks how much that company is worth. And that great quote that he says, where he says, I sold my son's birthright, my children's birthright, for a few months' rent, and it just eats him up inside. And for me, it goes all the way back to Grey Matter. Walt's just his inadequacy complex. It goes all the way back to Grey Matter. And Adam Scott on Talking Bad made a great point where he said, Walt, when we see the flashbacks, when Walt's in his Grey Matter era, when him and Skylar are looking at the house for the first time, he's got that leather jacket on, he's got an air of arrogance about him, he's like, oh, this place is a bit too small, maybe a temporary place, And when he's writing the formula on the board with Gretchen in the flashback, he's almost like a kind of rock star feel to him, as Adam Scott said, and I agree with that. And it's almost as if the Heisenberg kind of persona that he had didn't originate, where we pick up in Breaking Bad, but it was there all along, but it had remained dormant when he was kicked out of or forced out of Grey Matter, and just felt just like completely inadequate, and kind of just got pushed down to where he was at the beginning of Breaking Bad. So really, it's almost as if the Heisenberg had been there all along, but this life of crime and this necessity to provide for his family took on a life of its own, and his ego just became so inflated, and that's where we are today. All links back to Grey Matter, and I was so happy that it came back into the fray, into the mix. Really wanted to see it because I was always so intrigued by the Grey Matter storyline. In season 1 I was loving it, the flashbacks and stuff. I think we saw Gretchen in season 2. I really hoped it would continue, but it was really left. I think season 3 and season 4 go the whole time without any mention of it, I'm pretty sure. That scene I mentioned where Walt says that he checks the company's worth every week, that was in season 5A, so I'm really glad it came back into the mix right at the end, at the pivotal moment. And we see Gretchen and Elliot, you know, on the TV being asked about Walt, because obviously Walter White is now this worldwide, or at least statewide, you know, known, you know, drug kingpin. And of course it came out that he was you know, involved in Grey Matter, and they're a publicly trading company, I would imagine. And so for PR it's not good for them at all, and they're on the Charlie Rose show, he plays himself, and they talk about you know, what his involvement was, because they're getting grilled about it. You know, this drug kingpin was a part of your empire, and this new program you're doing seems like just a publicity stunt. And they're like, well, actually, you know, Walter really had little to do with Grey Matter. Ooh, that was sticking the knife in. The only thing that Walt had to do with Grey Matter was he came up with the name, because my name's Schwartz and his name's White, and you mix them and you have Grey Matter. Walt's involvement really doesn't go any further than the name. Oh, they're twisting the knife. They're twisting the knife. Oh, and then when Gretchen says, you know, I don't think, you know, that Walter White is out there anymore. He's, you know, the sweet, kind, and you know, gentle man that we once knew is no longer there, and that almost is another kind of kick in the teeth while the knife is twisting inside him. Just almost a patronizing kind of thing that Walt might see it as, because he really he wants to be known as this badass. You know, he really does deep down, and that just pushed him. That lit a fire under his ass to go back and do who knows what. And of course the police turn up, and then the music comes in, and this is the genius part, and when this music plays over and we're like, hang on, this is familiar, it sounds like I've heard it before. And the police are coming in, and then there's a shot that pans across the bar, and we see Walt's empty glass and he's not there, and the police are coming in, and then the title theme comes in. It's an extended version of the title theme, and it worked perfectly, because we've never really, well, I guess we've heard different iterations of it in the credit sequences and stuff, but it really was the first time that the theme song has been used during a scene, and it was the perfect moment, you know, Breaking Bad, and it was just time for Walt to just go back for one last blaze of glory, whether it'll be evil glory or whether it'll be redemptive glory, we don't know, or just pure selfish glory. He is going back to Albuquerque, or he is going back to seek vengeance on anyone and everyone. I mean, who knows what's going to happen. We've already seen that he gets that big gun at the beginning of season 5. We already seen that he gets the ricin back from the house at season 5B. We also hear what happened to the house. Really, there was really a simple explanation. The house was kind of put up for auction and fenced off because kids were going in and vandalizing it, because it becomes something of a tourist spot, you know, with Heisenberg and everything. So it was really a simple explanation. And yeah, so what the hell is going to happen? Walt's got the ricin, he's got the gun. I don't know whether we're going to get a recap of that in the final episode, but for me, I think we should just start with him in the car. We know he's got the ricin, we know he's got the gun, and where is he going to go? He's obviously in Albuquerque, so is he going to go and take out all the Nazis? Is he going to go to Grey Matter? Is he going to go to Elliot and Gretchen? I would love a scene with him and Elliot and Gretchen, just to lay down the law. You know, that would be so fucking awesome. And that's, you know, for me, I'm psyched to see it. I'm psyched to see Walt kind of give him a piece of his mind, you know, and I'm psyched for him to go back and maybe not save Jesse, but to take out maybe to take out Jack and his men. And I think that Jesse should take out Todd for what he did to Andrea, and just, yeah, it's all going to go gangbusters. It's all going to go Scarface at the end. It's going to be horrible. And, you know, Felina on Sunday, I cannot wait. You know, Felina is an anagram of finale. It is also the chemical you know, elements, Fe, Li, and Na, which are I think let me just get this right. I think it's iron, sodium, and lithium, which are contained within blood, meth, and tears. Yes, not blood, sweat, and tears, but again, to play on things, blood, meth, and tears. And this was kind of figured out quite a while ago, but We're going to see blood, we're going to see meth, and we're going to see lots of tears, both on the screen and off the screen. All of us watching it, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be really sad that just the show is over in general, and just, you know, whatever's going to happen, because something bad is going to happen. Obviously, it's Breaking Bad, but what a show! You know, I absolutely loved this episode. I loved how slow paced it was. I loved how we got time to breathe with the repercussions of Ozymandias, and I love how we got to see Walt just taken to his lowest ebb before his final moment in Felina. And I got no idea where it's going to go. You know, I'm thinking the ricin is going to be used for Lydia. I have a feeling that the gun is going to be to take out Jack and his men. I honestly don't think that he's going to go after Grey Matter. I think that was just to kind of light a fire under him to go back and finish what basically was left behind. And also, worth noting, I didn't catch this the first time round, someone else said it on a website I visit regularly, that also in that interview with Gretchen and Elliot, he finds out, because Charlie Rose says the blue meth is still in circulation and it's still around, and that tells Walt that Jesse is still alive, that they didn't kill him, that they kept him as a slave. So maybe Walt is going to go back and save Jesse, but, you know, I don't think Walt has any kind of feelings left for Jesse. Unfortunately, as much as I want them to kind of ride off into the sunset together, you know, as outlaws, you know, and that kind of thing, it's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. Walt's dying anyway, so for me, Walt dying in Felina is a no-brainer. It's just how it happens, you know. Maybe he uses the ricin on himself, you know. I was joking with a friend that, you know, the end of the series is he kind of gets into a motel just as he's about to get to Albuquerque, and you know, just sits down with the gun, takes the ricin, gets into bed, goes to sleep. Executive producer Vince Gilligan. Just a really, really anticlimactic ending. But no, it's gonna, you know, Breaking Bad is gonna go out with style, and I've heard from, you know, or we all heard, if you watch Talking Bad, Bryan Cranston said last week or the week before, he did an interview via satellite, that Breaking Bad ends in true to Breaking Bad style and in an unapologetic fashion. So, and also Vince Gilligan has said that it does end definitively. There's no vagueness about it. We're not going to get any kind of Soprano bullshit going on there. It's going to be, you know, we're going to know what's happening at the end, and that's going to be that. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. You know, I hope Lily gets over, you know, her depression about Andrea getting killed. I know that Andrea was a favourite character of yours, wasn't she, Lily? Wasn't she? She can't even speak. She's just at a loss for words, at a loss for meows, and I'm sure I will be too on Sunday. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, he's really cool, but he's not quite as cool as you, 'cause